Then no lie. Let me keep this off there. Excellent. How are you?
Shabbat Shalom, Sister Betty. Funny because when I was doing the research, you look at the strong one, and then you see how it's going into it. I played the shofar whenever you wanted to. I just didn't know how much time you wanted to give him. But they be doing worse on that. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It is the Shabbat. Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom, everybody. We're going to get started. And so if we can have your, I can have some, I got water. I'll get some coffee a little bit later. As we move, we say Shabbat Shalom to all of those who are listening and those who are part of the 12 tribes scattered. Say Shabbat Shalom to all of everybody that wants to Shabbat. And we know that the Shabbat belongs to Yah.
Yes.
It belongs to Yah. Any other Shabbat is a different gospel. Any other Shabbat other than the 7-day Sabbath, that's another gospel. So we're thankful for this day. The food was good. Y'all had all this healthy food. I love it. Cabbage soup, pinto bean soup, the little turkey sandwiches and roll-ups, the fruit. It's all good. Because see, they start munching on here. I want them to know what we were munching on. We ain't munching on no ribs and pork and all that. So, how many, when you went to church years ago, and they said it's time for praise and worship, what went through your mind?
We got to go sing, boss.
Singing, hollering, falling out, tearing up chairs, looking at the back of somebody's wings. And by the time we got through healing in his wings, I ain't seen so many grown men laid out. Chairs was tore all up in the church. Brother Otis did a tornado through the church. It was wild, y'all. But that song is so powerful. And when Marsha and I have been singing it with the correct names, the name of Yahuah shall be praised, and the Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings. And the Son of Righteousness is the Messiah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. He's not the Son God. No. So don't let nobody fool you on that. I'm gonna wait till y'all get through. The louder I get, the louder y'all get.
Well, you mastered all of that. You mastered all Fred.
I'm telling you now, you must all be quiet in this place. He's trying to talk. At least he didn't start off saying, when I was in the military. But anyway, so I pulled up a scripture here, and Brother Nate is going to share. He's been wanting to share this worship thing now for probably about 17 years. No. I think way back, I asked him to look up.
I preached about that long ago, though. I preached about
He
that
preached
long
about
ago.
it. And so, but we're going to talk a little bit about worship today from a Hebrew standpoint, from the correct standpoint. And it's going to help us worship leaders and in here. I remember a long time ago, I had everybody come in, but when we was a church, Christian church, I had everybody come in and just start telling each other how good the Most High was. And they got fired up. And by the time we started singing our love songs to him, we was finished. We didn't have to preach that day. We had a lot of days where we didn't have to preach. He came in, people surrendered their hearts to him. Now, Hebrews today, I tell y'all, nah, that wasn't right, because y'all didn't say his name. Let me tell you something. We've been on this journey for years. That's why you're here now. You've been on this journey. You were searching for truth. You were searching for something real. And so he met you at every level that you was at. Don't let nobody come here and tell you that because you weren't Hebrew, that he didn't. I said it before in my life, out of ignorance. But he met us everywhere. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here on the Shabbat. So I turned to John 4:24. I know this might be one of his scriptures. And I started John 4:23. The hour is coming, and now is when the true worshipers, say true worshipers, shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Now, we thought spirit and in truth meant shouting high back in the day, in the spirit. Got to get in the spirit. We're going to keep on until we get it. We do this, what I call it, the dip, kick, and slide. Because you're going to slide for a while, now shuffle. Then you're going to dip, then you're going to kick. So, but in worshiping him in spirit and in truth, because it says his word, his Torah is truth. And the Messiah said his words are spirit. So we must find out how through the word he wants to be approached. And that's worshiping in spirit and in truth. Y'all know I got shell shock.
About to get under the table.
And so it says, for the Father also does seek those to worship him this way. Elohim is spirit, and those who worship him need to worship him in spirit and
in truth.
And what is true? Thy word, thy Torah is true. When we first started this walk, we were told by some old sages that the greatest position of worship is study of the Torah. I didn't get it. The more I thought about it, I said, when I study the Torah becomes alive and I'm dying. Every time I read something in the Torah, more of me is being shedded off. And so I said, I'm dying. The word is getting richer, so that's the worship. It's an intimacy between him and us. And so it says, Elohim is spirit, and those who worship him need to worship him in spirit and in truth. And the woman said to him, I know that the Messiah is coming, the one who is called anointed. When that one comes, he shall announce to us all.
Hallelujah.
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 We'll go ahead, Nate, and get us started.
All right. Well, Shabbat Shalom again.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, Pastor, I don't know if y'all remember a couple months ago when he started, inviting us to sit up here with him. He called me and he said, hey, I want you to look up why we worship in Yahuah's name. And it's amazing as we grow in the truth, as Brother Brett's teach, as Moray has teach, that we find these Hebrew words that through our Western mindset, we've taken a culture and saying, oh, well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But as we break it down and realize, you'll be like, some of them, we are so far off bases with them from what the original meaning was that you just kind of get shell-shocked. And you can ask Bay, when the night that Papa gave this to me, I did my flesh research, right? I got into it and I was like, okay, I think I got it. So about 10 o'clock, I laid down to go to sleep. Y'all was like, you ain't done. So I got up and I'm at the table, I'm studying, got the Bible open, got my e-sword with the multiple different everything open, and mind you, this is, by the time Bae gets up, she wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she's like, where's he at? She gets up, I'm sitting at the table, I ain't got no shirt on, I'm just like in the computer. Like, y'all had me like on 4,000 that night, and the rush he felt, like I was connected. And I believe that is what we miss when we say we worship him. Because as we go into it, you'll see that worship is not just singing a song. You know, and I believe through the Western culture and us, a lot of us coming from the Christianity movement, you know, oh, it's praise and worship time. And we finish that and we're like, well, we worship him today. No, we didn't. You sung a song. Good job. I'm like, I mean, Josh is 4 and he sings, so we have to start off, what is worship?
Hallelujah.
So in the Webster Dictionary, it says, the act of showing respect or love to a God, especially by praying with other people who believe in the same God, an act of worshiping God or a God. You notice there they used the big G, lower G. That's irrelevant. Because we know God is a generalized term that can be put towards anything. So also says excessive admiration for someone, a person of importance, reverence offered a divine being or supernatural power, a form of religious practice, so forth and so on. It all breaks down to elevate, right? Well, then as you break it down, the Hebrew word is shakah. Okay, as you see up there, there's the pronunciation of how to say it, because we know that, So that's Strong's, 3812. Mm-hmm. So the Strong definition is simply reflective in homage to royal or God, to bow, self-down, crouch, fall, humble, beseech. I always get this word wrong. Obeisance. Do reverence, make to stoop, and worship. Does anyone see anything in common with that every comma that's on there is we're lowering ourselves, right?
That's right.
Yes.
All right. So in the King James, the King, right? That 7812, right? The Shekah was translated 172 times.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
But here's the thing. 99 times it was translated over to worship. 31 times was related to bow, 18 bow down, 9 to that word.
Obeisance.
And so forth, right? But obviously, as we've learned through other Hebrew words, the word has multiple definitions, right? So then we have to pay attention to what are we doing, right? Because at the end of the day, we can only do, 1, what we know to do, and 2, what we are expected to do, right?
Right.
So, worship, shakah, it's an action word. Just like we've realized about love, we've realized about, the other one, pretty much any of these words we break down and study, they're action words. They're not just a feeling or an emotion. There's an action required with doing these things.
That's right.
Right? Thus you said. So an action must be done. So when someone turn to Genesis 24:26 and read that for me when you get there.
And the man bowed down his head and worshiped Yahuah.
So, but you notice there, he had an action he did.
That's right.
To worship, right? He just didn't stand there and say, hey, I'm worshiping you.
Right.
He had an action he performed to show that I'm worshiping you.
Yeah.
Right? So, now, through the YouTube preachers and all that, as during my research, you'll see people that say that we can worship man because it's the same word used, right? Because Abraham bowed down to his father. Yes, it was the same word, but in that language, it had a different context.
That's right.
Right? Because we've had this discussion several times, right? Just like I can bow to him because I am less than him, he is greater than I, right? But I'm not exalting him like he's a God.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Papa OB,
that's right.
He's the elder of the house. Every one of us in here, when he walk in the door, if we bow to him, we're not worshiping him. We're just acknowledging that he is greater than I.
That's right.
Right? But see, that's where, when we get over to Exodus, right? What's the 10 Commandments say? Thou shalt worship no other God before me. So, in our Christian mindset, if I bow to you, I'm worshiping you.
That's right.
So
that's right.
we want to go on a tangent and be like, see, you're blaspheming because you worshiping a man.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm just paying reverence to him. As we saw in the definitions, paying reverence is a form of worship, but it's not worship itself.
That's right. That's good, Nate.
All right.
Nate, let me add something to that. Years ago, Dr. Miles Monroe was teaching us, years ago, about honoring and esteeming the other more higher than yourself. Even the greater one. So if I walk up to Christian, because even though he's younger than me, let me esteem him right now. And I'll say, hey, Christian, how you doing? And we see that in other cultures, Eastern cultures, and don't let an American get with an Easterner, because the Easterner's going to bow, the American's going to bow, and they're going to bow back, and they're standing there for about an hour bowing to each other. Right. But it's esteeming the other more higher than ourselves, and when we get to the place of doing that, it brings us into a more place of humility. Go ahead, Nate, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. So I got, we're not going to go through the whole 177 scriptures, but the thing is, like, to lay prostrate, okay? To lay prostrate is one of the most humbling experiences I believe you could go through. After I did this study, the next morning, because I felt convicted. Because I was the type to be like, hey, I'm worshiping, but all I was doing was, I was thinking about him. I was like, I praise y'all. I'm singing a song to you. But I was not truly humbling myself.
Yeah, I feel you.
And the thing is, if you've been in the position we had this talk the other day when they were over to the house, the worship part of the service. And some of you have been here a while. Remember, we've had people up here just on their face. Laid out. And I don't want to get comfortable thinking I've arrived where I need to be in this new walk because, we're all babies. But the thing is, prime example, Josh is 4, right? Josh connects with us by being next to us, right? I'm not trying to die right now to go be next to y'all. So the next closest thing I can do, as you said earlier, is let some of myself die off. So I can be next to him. Because when you get next to him, I might get goosebumps, but he opens your eyes and your ears, and you'll hear things, and he will move things for you. That, prime example, Papa, I don't know who's all new, but Shay lost her job at Lowe's. They downsized. My job was done. My job got canceled, basically. We'll say that. And I could have went into flesh mode, started stressing, but I said, no matter what, I'm going to continue to serve and worship you.
That's it.
And through this study, I've learned to humble myself so I can connect with him.
Yeah.
And opening my eyes to realize that when you start, the closer you get to Yah, he will move doors that you didn't even expect.
That's right. That's right.
Like, for those that know, we have a channel on YouTube, but I told him I was going to tell him about it, but I've been trying to get my words right to say it, but, if anybody knows Jaden loves cars, period. Like, he does car videos. Through Jaden, Yah gave me a job. As a parent, you don't think that your child is going to be your avenue to get a job.
Come on, man.
But Yah,
Hallelujah.
thank you, Jaden.
Hallelujah.
And but here's the thing. To want to up that, you notice it's a Sabbath. I'm here. So Yah placed it on Jaden to enough teaching through us to make us feel good. Because as he told me, like, well, my dad's looking for a job, but we don't work on the Sabbath.
Ah.
And the guy's like, oh, okay. So the next day, he gave me a number. I said, no, if that's the way Yah's lining it up, I'm not finna make a phone call. I put my shirt, my tie on. That morning, I get in there at 9 o'clock in the morning. He's like, oh, okay, let's have an interview. I'm talking about on the spot. What was it, the next day, 2 days later? He's like, all right, you got to meet with the president of the company. I met with him, did the background check. Praise Yah, I'm working. It's just like when we connect by letting some of us die out.
Yeah.
Letting that flesh die out.
That's right, Nate.
We connect better with Yah, and that's what he wants us to.
That's right.
So think of what he tells us in the word. It says, come to me as a child, right? Well, our child acts the way they do because they don't know everything.
Come on.
Right? We act the way we do because we think we know everything. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So the problem that I feel Yah has with us is our perception of us. Right? Because Yah made us perfect. Right? Yes, he knows we're flesh and we're going to sin. But Yah made us and gave us instruction how to do it.
Yes, he did.
But through the worship of studying and letting ourselves die off,
that's right,
we can learn that.
I just wanted to touch on the comment that you made about lowering yourself, humbling yourself before God, or those that would be your head, the people those that have been placed over you as impart wisdom, teaching, whatever, what have you. But in this sense, talking about the Most High Yah,
Right.
lowering ourselves before Him, and humbling yourself and saying and killing. Basically, you're dying off.
Yeah.
So that you can be used. Because it's almost like I was explaining to the boys. If I'm in the kitchen with you, and you say, well, Mom, I want you to help me bake a cake. I never baked a cake before, and I want you to help me. And so we baking the cake from scratch, and I'll tell you exactly what ingredients to get out of the pantry. And so we do that. We start baking the cake, and then you start throwing in your own stuff. You just start throwing your own stuff in. You know what I'm saying? So then, as a student, you want to learn, you got to be corrigible, not incorrigible. You have to be able to take instruction.
That's right.
And say, hey, you know what? She's trying to teach me. I want to learn. So let me move out the way. Stop adding my own stuff in there. and do it this way. And that's the thing, like he said, that's the thing that as adults, and it's funny because when you read the word, it talks about as a child, it's like the children, they depend on us for everything.
That's right. That's right.
Everything. But then as we grow up and we started putting our own little spin on stuff, we think we got control. And so we start, no. And so that's just such this study for Nate, and even to a lesser extent myself, because like I said, he said, I wake up probably 2:30, 3 o'clock every morning to just commune with the Most High.
That's right, that's right.
But then when I woke up and I sensed that he wasn't in the bed, I went in there and he was like deep in study. Lowering yourself and being humble and just allow yourself to be taught and used.
That's right. That's right.
So that's what I'm saying.
Let me give a word to some of these young boys over these young men over here. These young men over here, they take right here. Gotta get out a word right here.
Right over there, right over there.
A lot of times we've been programmed by Uncle Luke and all these folks to look for a woman that got humps and bumps. Naturally. One that looks beautiful. Let me tell you something. When you find a woman that will the first thing should come out your mouth as young Israelites is that you fall after the Most High and that you fall after Torah. Her next question should be, what is Torah? Your answer should be, begin to tell her the instructions of our Heavenly Father teaches how to live right. If she wants to, one sign to know that you got a good one, if she wants to study with you and wants to learn and loves what you're teaching her, don't look. That might be the one.
Right.
That might be the one. Don't look over here because somebody else walked by with some perfume on or talk about how tight your pants is. You better follow one that's willing to follow you as you follow Yah.
Hallelujah.
Now let me give you an example. When Marsha and I met, and when I told her what I did, and the first thing she says, she starts crying and said, I've been searching for this truth all my life. And when we started studying together, I remember that one day, I know we spent about 15 hours in study. And then we came up, we were so full, we went up to my office and we gonna worship. Now, you know, we new in this thing, we trying to find messianic worship songs. And we lay prostrate on the floor, and we thought we had been down there 30 minutes. It was 4 hours. We had got lost in him. And so I say that, young man, if she's willing to humble herself and follow after you as you follow Yah, that's going to be the number one sign. There's going to be some other things you got to check out. But that's if you get that, that's the main thing. Seek ye first the kingdom. And all the other things we add.
That's right.
Y'all hear me? You feel me now? Let me in. So worse, that when they were talking about prostrate, Marcia told me when we met, she would see Dick Gregory. When Dick Gregory would go into a church, before he said anything, he would go up there and lay prostrate on the floor before the Most High. Now we'll probably say, well, who is he laying? We got to quit being so judgmental and just seek Yah, because y'all know we wasn't worshiping no devils in here. We were still trying to find him. Not intention. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. All right, so I need 2 volunteers. One, we need to point out the differences. All right. So I need somebody with a scriptures Bible to look up Leviticus 26 verse 1. I need somebody with another translation to do Leviticus 26 1 as well.
All right, you said 26 1 in scriptures. I got that.
Right. And I need the scriptures to go last.
Okay.
So if somebody else got non-scriptures, they can go ahead and read that.
Who got Cain? Anybody got Cain in
I
here?
got a blue letter.
I got a King James Version.
Yeah.
James Bible. Yeah.
All right, read the Cain.
What's the scripture? 20.
Leviticus 26 and 1.
Okay, I was gonna use that. 26:1, ye shall do no idol nor graven images, neither rear up a stated image, neither neither shall you set up any images of stone in your land, to bow down upon unto it, for I am Yahuah, your Elohim.
All right.
That's,
Yeah,
That's Leviticus
26.
yeah. No, it's the right verse. It's the translation. My king is a little different. 'Cause all right, go ahead and read it out the scriptures.
Do not make idols for yourselves, and do not set up a carved image or a pillar for yourselves, and do not place a stone image in your land to bow down to, for I am Yahuah your Elohim.
All right. So, in the version I had in the non-scriptures, it said to worship, right? Well, just to prove the difference, break down the different, like I said, there's 177 times that word was used, the Hebrew word was used, that it's been translated over. And as you see there, it's still an actual word, to bow down, right? But they're talking about, that is the rule there, don't bow down to another God, right?
That's right.
Tommy?
Well, I keep thinking about how paganism is blatant, like in the Catholic Church, how they have all these idols.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are kissing on them and doing something.
Yeah.
And then you go into a lot of countries where the diaspora, where slaves were taken, you know what I mean? They have, these idols.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christianity is so full of idols, it's unreal. You know what I mean? How can you believe that? And it's contradictory.
Yeah. Bishop Marvel went to India. And she did what she told me. She said, next time I go, I want you to go with me. And she told me what happened to her. I went nowhere trying to go. She told me how beautiful all the buildings were, but there are gods everywhere.
Yep.
Idols on the edge of buildings, standing up in and they worship rats and cows. And she said, as pretty as that place was, she said she got sick as a dog. Them demons put a whooping on her over there. I ain't trying to go over there.
Well, one thing, since you bring it up, Tommy, is, back in high school, I dated a girl that was Catholic, right? Well, if anybody's been to a Catholic service, anybody know what they require everybody to do?
Yeah.
You have to bow during service, right? They have a kneel bar that you pop down. So, I mean,
Right.
then you think, like you said, you got all these idols and pictures and all the graven images up there. Mind you, you got, a false Messiah on a crucifix right in front. So what are you bowing to?
Yeah.
What are you, when you are worshiping, right? Because in your mind, you have to humble yourself to get into a position of bowing or prostrate. So then you ask yourself, what am I worshiping? Right?
That's right.
When we first came into this walk, like that was my thing about the Christmas tree, right? Because you have to bow to put a present at the tree. And when you go to a king, you bow to, give a present. So like my thing was like, when you're at their service, what are you worshiping?
That's right.
They don't even wonder about that, they just do it.
Right, because just like we were in the Christian church though, you were conditionalized, like you don't ask, you just do.
Just do. Yeah.
As you're talking about India, you've been cows and rats and things.
Yeah.
But are they any different in this country? You were just cats and dogs.
Yeah.
You sleep with the cat.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
You eat and kiss the cat and dog.
Right.
Well, some people's cats and dogs eat better than I do.
Yeah. But let me add to what Brother Jennings just said. Yeah, he just made a statement because let's look at something. Let's look at this. Police shoot down young men every day. spending men of color. Nobody says a sign except the Black Lives Legend. They gonna go out there and do their thing. But you shoot a dog, pet her, on TV,
Yeah.
on CNN, everything. You are the devil, and they gonna put you in jail for 2 years.
Yeah.
3
Like when they
years.
killed the gorilla.
Huh?
Like when they killed the gorilla. Harambe or whatever.
Yeah.
So, back to what Brother Jennings said, that the hypocrisy of the nation and the place we stay in. A lot of this stuff, and not over in Europe, they legalized in Canada, legalized dog sex and cat sex and animal sex and all of this. And so, you oh yeah.
If you leave the dog or the cat in the car, that's a crime.
Yeah. So we're in a place where good is evil, it's called evil, and evil is called good. And so they get us twisted to the point of where, and if they hit you enough with it over the TV, images, MK Ultra, images, to where you accept it.
Yeah.
Y'all, you know, I saw it so much, and I got with the dog folks. When I had my dog, I let my dog lick the all in the face. It won't happen again. That was back in the day. And I'm kissing the dog, you know. I promise you that won't happen no more.
How they get the message for the kids.
Yeah.
You buy the puppy for the kid, and the kid, I love my dog. And it's all on, and it's subliminal. You watch a commercial enough, it's always dogs and cats, or Halloween, what's going on. So, this is another Indian.
Then they brainwash you when you're young black. But dogs have the cleanest mouth out of anybody.
They show said,
And I've seen what a dog be putting his mouth on. No,
they lick
sir.
everything.
But
And then come lick you.
can I say something though about the whole India thing? Okay, so India has like 13 million gods. They said that they literally have a god for everything and every situation,
Yeah.
right? But then you go out there, and I've never been to India, but I've seen like documentaries and things like that on how they live. And to me, I'm just saying,
Terrible.
because of how they worship, I believe that says a lot about their living conditions. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You got 13 million gods that you got. You got half elephant, half this god, this god, this guy, and it's like, but y'all living in filth over there.
Yes.
You see, right? So while we are doing a study on worship, and then just to throw that in the mix, like, hey, you know, these people that live in India, and they have their certain beliefs, and they believe in all these millions of gods, or whatever, but they live in filth, kind of make you understand why they live in filth, why things are the way that they are over there, you know? So you can't really even say, you know, or feel bad for the condition, for the fact that that's what they do. I'll give you another one. Haiti. Project that Haiti was the core of a bunch of foolishness spiritually. They bowed down to different deities, these stone gods, all these different, you know, little demigods and little things that they were creating themselves. And they praying and bowing down and worshiping these idols, and then wonder why y'all living the way you live. Look at the Catholic Church. Look at what they doing.
Go, Jimmy.
Well, what is the difference? It's in the mind here. We went from voodoo in every place in the world to hoodoo in the South. And that's what got you bound out. So I have grease on your face from the pig, but yet you crucify the pig. You eat into it, everything is totally and all. It's chicken. So who can throw a stone
Yeah,
at who
yeah,
in this country?
That's a great deception right there.
it is.
Because if we would stand up in pulpits in Christianity, everybody was talking about what everybody doing, but we really were oblivious and blind to what we were actually doing ourselves.
That's it.
We
That's it.
we were no different than any other. All right, me and Marsh had this conversation the other day, and we talked about African religions. All right, here's the African religion. They practice circumcision, 8-day circumcision. They meet on Saturdays. They sacrifice, trying to send sacrifice. So they're literally taking stuff from the Bible, but then we'll look over there at out of Christianity. We on another day worshiping an image.
Yeah,
Which one of us is wrong?
yeah.
Both are wrong. At least they was closer to Torah
Trying to do,
than Christians were.
yeah.
Because we're going to tell you up front, we ain't doing nothing on no Saturday.
We was
That's
closer to
Seventh-day
the
Adventist.
houses.
That's Seventh-day Adventist and everybody else. We do ours on Sunday. Because we follow after our daddy the Pope. And that's what we been doing. And they know no better. Go ahead, Nick.
Just to kind of chime in on that. Because of the way we worship, because of not studying, and us getting up at services in the morning and saying different things, it became a chant. And it opened up the realm for other spirits to come in. It became ritualistic.
Yeah.
And it even became a thing that you was expecting certain things to be said every Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so you opened up a realm of spirit. Right now, it is more spiritual places with different spirits in America than it ever has been.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to India now, you can go right over to Georgia.
Yeah.
They have the most gorgeous temple. They imported their stones and their, what's that, their elephant tusks. Their
The ivory.
Bamboo.
ivory, gold, I mean,
Ivory.
real gold. I see, I'm nosy, that's what got me in trouble, so I'm just telling y'all the truth. And so I had the opportunity to go to that temple. And if you have seen an Indian temple constructed, it would take up this whole block, and in the middle is always water, because they go and wash in the water for different deities and different
Because they
things.
don't ceremonies.
Well, they got the same thing in Georgia when you could go. So I wanted to see it, because it was beautiful. I went in and they got so many demonic, you know better, you do better. They got so many different deities around, and every room, they have rooms. For anything that you think you want, they have a deity where you can go in and pray.
Yeah,
Okay, so they had this money deity, and they tell you how many times to walk around, blah, blah, blah. Okay, not only that, over in Lithonia, Georgia, they have a statue erected, and it's tall as this building. How was all those things able to come here? And we supposed to be one of the most spiritual natures that there is.
That's
Oh,
a
we
lie.
spiritual. We just ain't the right spirit.
But that's what they say.
Oh no, they say nation built on godly principles.
exactly.
I got news for you. It wasn't built on no godly principles.
Well, here's the thing.
What
though.
God?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. What God? God in principle,
I
yeah.
pledge allegiance to what?
All right.
To
So,
that. All of that's worship. All of that is what they call a form of worship.
real quick, BJ, go ahead.
To capitalize on what it says here, the very beginning.
Yeah. I told you they got one for everything.
That's a lot.
All right, so true worship is the highest and noblest activity of which a man, woman, by the grace of Yah, is capable.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That is something he has given us the ability to do.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So If he tells us to worship him, we're trying to live upright because he says, if you love me, you'll obey my commandments.
That's right.
Well, guess what? That's a statute he put in place. It's to worship him. Because obviously, I mean, the default is if you're not supposed to worship any other God but me, well, the default there is, okay, I'm supposed to be worshiping you. Well, if I'm not doing it, I'm not following his commandments.
That's right.
Right? Worship of the living and true Yah is essential, an engagement with him on the terms that he proposes and in the way that he alone makes possible. There's nothing out here that has set in place for us to be able to worship, right? They say people worship money, people worship stuff. Well, guess what? That is your flesh making it possible to worship, right? Yah made us. So it wasn't the money making it possible to worship it, is we chose to elevate it and humble ourselves where, you know people, I can tell you that there's certain points in my life that I lowered myself to make more money. Well, guess what? Now I've put myself in the position, now I worshiped another God. I made money a God. And we have a bad habit of that because our society runs on the dollar. We don't like it, we don't love it, but guess what? At this time, that's the society we live in. But we got to make sure, as true believers, as people trying to walk out the truth, that we don't allow anything, especially money, because that's the most common thing, right?
Right.
Because when we get in dire needs, we want to start sacrificing stuff to take stuff out of Yah's hands and be like, Yah, I trust you, but I'm just going to intervene a little bit over here.
Right.
Well, if I'm letting myself die, how do I know that's not Yah aligning me to allow my flesh to die off? I remember a couple of years ago, we had that I think it was that older white guy that was here.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I want to die. And everybody got dead quiet.
Right.
Because we're like, what? You want to die? Because the mentality of dying, we have taken it as such a negative thing.
You're going to make a transition.
Right. But to allow your flesh to die off so you can grow closer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing greater than that. Give me 1 second. Worship is the submission of all our nature. It is the quickening of conscience by his holiness, the nourishment of the mind with his truth, the purifying of the imagination by his beauty, the opening of the heart to his love, and the surrender of his will for his purpose.
All right.
Like, just going over this again, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Hallelujah.
Like, it's one thing when you study it and you can absorb it into your spirit. But for you to verbalize it and put it out, right? Like he says, go tell it to the nations.
Yeah.
Right? Now, do I believe Yah has set me to the point that I can go tell it to the nations? No, but we have to start somewhere. When we came into the truth, we didn't start where we at now.
That's right.
Because as we talked about, when we came into the truth, there's a lot of the traditional stuff we thought we were doing right.
That's
right.
We weren't. So that leads me into the second part of when we worship, right? Because, of the stuff we brought when we came into the truth, we thought we were doing it right, which was actually traditions of men. Well, we know by the word it says to avoid the traditions of men.
Right.
Well, now we have made a lot of worship practices the same traditions. We think it's okay because we call it worship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still a tradition that we're upholding from something we were taught. Right? And we have to, once again, let that part break off. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I was stuck hard on it because you see, me and Shay, we do the praise and worship section. Well, I used to get into the thing where, like, Papa would, the Ruach would be leading them, and we just go right into the service, and they'd get in the car and be like, babe, I'd be all worked up, and I'd be like, look, this is out of order, we can't do this. And, she'd be like, well, babe, Papa's going to lead as the Spirit leads.
Right.
I'm like, I know, but that tradition was on me that, hey, you go in, you pray, you have praise and worship, you give the announcements, I grew up where, every morning you walked in the door, which we had it here when I first got here. You got your bulletin, so you knew the order of service. I'd be like, all right, well, between song 2 and the prayer, we're going to run to the bathroom.
That's right.
But I learned through worship and letting my flesh, because letting your flesh die off is not necessarily the way you picture in your head. It's just a lot of our flesh has predetermined concepts that have been taught to us, right?
That's right.
Now, then you ask yourself, did it come from the Word? Were those concepts taught to us from the Word through the Spirit of truth, right? Because he said, worship me in spirit and truth. That's right. Right? So we're learning the truth, but we have to get the spirit part down. The spirit part sometimes gets negated by the flesh.
Yeah.
The flesh like, well, I understand what you're saying there,
Right.
but that ain't the way we've always done it.
Right.
Well, obviously the way you've always done it ain't right.
Right. Exactly.
All right? Go ahead.
It's almost impossible. Because you worship yourself, number one. You worship your children, number two.
All right.
You worship things that are made of iron and steel. So you talk about the African, saying there's a God, after the tree God, if I'm gonna call some, ask for forgiveness, you're constantly going around worshiping. I'm not going to work this day because today is my birthday. Who are you that you're so important?
Right.
That's right.
So by your mouth and by your deeds and actions, you are condemned as hypocritical men.
Brother, listen to this right here. What is your house for? I was talking about something, man. Let's just go back some years. Back to Christianity. All right, about 15 years. All right. You know you're on the job, right? Birthday Tuesday. You done told the boss, man, I ain't gonna be in Tuesday. So what you do, you take Tuesday out to get drunk, or party, or go out and eat, or whatever. Now watch this.
That's just like Sunday.
You take that off. But yet when it came to Sunday, shoot, man,
I'm gonna be there.
I'm gonna be there unless my birthday follows Sunday. If my birthday follows Sunday, I ain't going to church today. So you are worshiping yourself. And now, mind you, the whole thing of idolatry is fleshly, selfly, what makes gratification is your personal gratification, daddy, and then somebody else said Sonya. Daddy.
I don't know how many of you in here now that was here a while back when Pastor Darrell was preaching to us about, I've been overseas and I brought all these souvenirs back. And can I remember,
Yeah.
And I got rid of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
As long as I keep them, that means I'm kind of worshiping in a way.
It was Korean
So I
God.
got rid of all of that stuff from
Yeah.
Korea and from Japan, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Got rid of it.
And that stuff was pretty too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Well, see, I was thinking, that was something to remember.
Yeah.
We need to remember that.
Sonya, let Sonya then, Brother Jennings.
To the graveyard and talk to the dead.
Yeah.
Ooh-wee.
Sonya.
Every year, go take a picture of the tombstone.
I go sit out there and smoke reefer. That's what I used to do in the graveyard.
Sister
Because
Sonya.
I know ain't gonna be no police out there.
Sister Sonya, you had something? All right. So if I can get, I need one person to turn to Psalm
I'll say it now.
138, verse 2.
Psalm 138.
Yes, and someone else turn to Psalms 29, verse 2.
I got one, you said 138 too?
Yes.
I got 129.
No, just 29.
Oh,
29 and 2.
Well, I have 29.
All right, go ahead with 138 when you get there.
All right, Psalms 138, 2. I bow myself toward your set apart Hakam and give thanks to your name for your loving commitment and for your truth. For you have made great your word, your name above all.
So as you can see there, he bowed himself, right? I bow myself. It's the as we said, it's the action, right? So now
See, I'm looking at it in King James, and it has the Strong's H7812 Shachah. Now, that's what Nate was talking about, the Hebrew word Shachah. All right, Shachah, it says, I will worship. That's in the English. But in the scriptures, it says, I will bow myself.
Yes.
So worship, and when we think of worship, it's an abstract term. Worship. I mean, we worship in many ways.
Right.
But when we go to the concrete term of Ashachah, I bow myself.
Humble myself.
Yeah.
Humble myself.
So it's physical and spiritual acts.
Spirit and in truth, yeah.
but the thing is that this is why, like, this is just like when they came over the other day, Mama was like, Papa, don't say nothing. He's like, but I want to know what you know. Like, what does worship mean? I was like, oh Lord, here we go. I'm like, hope you're ready. And then I was like, because in my mind, like, because of the way I was raised, you know, everybody knows my testimony. My dad was a Southern Baptist preacher, you know, so worship to me was a mindset, right? I never thought about it as me, you know, having to do something besides just sing a song.
Yeah.
So, like, through this, and finally, when you find it, and then you turn around, everywhere you see the word worship, you can put bow in there, and the sentence still flows because that's the meaning,
Yes.
right? All right, so Psalms 29 and 2.
Psalms 29 and 2. Ascribe to Yahuah, O you sons of the mighty. Ascribe to Yahuah esteem and strength. Ascribe to Yahuah the esteem of his name.
Of his what?
Name. Bow yourself to Yahuah in the splendor of set apartness.
Hallelujah.
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 So, you know, I'm not to the point I can, you know, I could talk for hours on end, but I just think that we have to take stock of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, we have to see what we're doing. Yes, in the culture we live in, we like to see what's going on, but too many times we try to make judgments about what other people are doing. And guess what? Y'all don't come at us for what somebody else does.
Yeah.
But he is going to come at us for what we ain't doing. So if we realize that, hey, yeah, it's like, I've always been told what this is worship, but when you study and realize that I'm not truly worshiping the Most High, I got to make a change for myself.
That's right.
So, I mean, I'm gonna let you get whatever. But
I just, when you said that, I saw a picture of there's a physical bowing,
Yes.
and then there's a spiritual
Yes.
bowing.
Yes.
My ruach is broken to the point that it makes me bow. It makes my body bow. Why? Because everything inside me wants to lay down.
right.
And wants to I mean, I'm feeling that now.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, that's the spiritual part. Going back to the Hebrew, remember pendulum swings. In Christianity, everything was about feeling it, right? Got over here in the Hebrew, everything's about doing it.
Yeah.
So we went from here to yeah.
Yeah.
And some of us are still stuck on here. It's all about, you got to do it right.
Yeah.
If we enjoy this walk of obedience and be pliable for the Ruach to work with you
Yes.
and say, listen, I'm going to bring you back in the middle. Yes, here's the spiritual part and here's the natural part. That boy, what's it, Noah Franz used to say, if you got all spirit, all Ruach, and no Torah, you're going to blow up. Y'all, you know, we used to blow up churches on Sunday. Then, if you got all Torah and no Ruach, you dry up. Because you got to do this. We tried to get it right. But what if you got the combination of the spirit and the Torah, the letter of the law and the spirit of the Torah? When you bring that together, it causes you to grow up. Oh, hallelujah. You can't help but grow up because, see, you're pliable to listen and you just ain't got it right. It ain't your way. But you pliable to listen. What is he saying? What is he saying? I got you. Let me tell you something. When I first started teaching on bowing and worshiping, and we talked about it, we laughed about it in here. We were still, I think, in the first part of the transition. I remember Trisha coming in. Now, Trisha would dance for you now. Dance unto him. And we'll still dance. But Trisha came in that Sunday, that Sunday, she came in and she bowed down at her seat. She heard it and she said, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was a posture of reverence and obeisance in her bowing.
That's right.
Now, me and Marcia had a conversation, and somebody had to handle it. Me and Marcia had a conversation. We watched this couple. Y'all remember when Nephew Tommy had this show trying to bring all these couples together? All right, there was a guy on there that was part of the Ural, and he introduced his girlfriend. So they went before the father, the Baba, the father. We say Abba in Hebrew, but in the African language, it's Baba, father. And they went before him, and they each laid on their side. No, he laid on his face. Yeah, and so she thought it was weird, but she said, "I'm willing. Now listen to this. I'm willing to follow this man, even though she was following wrong, but she was willing to follow him." But me and Marsha we thought about that moment. It wasn't that they were worshiping him; they were showing obeisance or reverence to him as being an elder.
Right.
And so that's why we have to study to show ourselves approved, so that we don't get caught up in stuff like that. So that we don't get caught up in stuff like over here, like we were doing, so that we can learn how to worship and in spirit and in truth, in the Ruach and in the Torah.
I was going to say, going back to what you said about the spirit of the Torah and the letter, right, and having the balance. And Nate, when I was talking about that on the way here, because we were making a comparison to gardening and the things that we learned when we were growing our own garden. And when we first started that garden, we had a little greenhouse. And I remember in the greenhouse, we didn't know what we were doing. All we did was took the seed, put it in the soil, put it in the greenhouse.
And closed it up.
And closed the door. But we didn't know. And when I tell y'all, everything in there except for the basil burned up. Because we didn't know. And we just call ourselves, okay, we're going to
proper
put
balance.
soil, we're going to put the seeds in there, and we got a greenhouse, and this is going to work. It's going to take off. All we got to do is water it. And so, when we burnt up the first seeds, I mean, we cooked them.
Oh, yeah.
We burnt them up. We were like, okay, what are we doing wrong? Something ain't right. And we literally had to go back.
And study.
Did it not hit you when you opened that?
Yeah, that seed.
But I thought that, look, I was new to the walk, so I thought that's what was supposed to happen.
So when we went back and studied, and it just hit us like a ton of bricks. Like, are you kidding me? We
Like, they gotta have fresh air too? Like, what?
So when we did it again, everything started to flourish, and we started seeing flowers coming before, the seeds, and it was budding, it was the flowers, and we started seeing, the tomatoes growing, and it was like, I really believe that God gave us the opportunity to do that garden, to teach us His Torah, because it was like, oh wow, and then everything that we were doing, we saw. So we understood the way that things need to be balanced. You can't you have to
But it's
nurture
before
the
you plant the seed.
environment, you
That's
have
why
to study, you have to
that's-
make sure you have the right balance of additives and things like that you're gonna put in. You put too much fertilizer in, you're gonna kill them. If you put too much water in, you're gonna kill them.
Yeah.
So when we were on the way this morning, now let me go back just a little bit, because Nate didn't know that he was going to have to teach on his worship that he had been studying on for so long. Pop just said, be ready. That was the only thing he said in the text, and Nate went in a panic when on Lord last night.
I'm trying to get everything ready. I'm gonna be ready for all of
I
them.
feel like Papa did that on purpose. Because Nate was in the middle like, what? What do you mean be ready? What do that even mean?
First thing out of my mouth this morning after I prayed, I'm like, I'm ready.
But the point is that when you humble yourself and you know that you're striving to worship the Most High in spirit and in truth, He's going to align things the way that they're supposed to be aligned. That everything is going to be balanced in such a way that you're going to know He's in it. You're going to know that it was His plan. You're going to know that that was His way. And so that balance with the whole garden thing, I really believe that God allowed us to see that.
And one thing to add to that I brought up, that's what started the conversation, because anybody, I don't know, watch on YouTube, there's a lady called Her Royal Roots. And it's funny because, in this walk, when you feel something, right? I know, Brother Larry, I know you do gardening and forestry and all that, so you see all that natural stuff. Well, from my perspective, I'm new to it. My grandpa does it, but I was trying to get into it. So, like, when you hear somebody else make the same statement you did, you're like, okay, so I wasn't wrong, But like she did the other day, she put a video out, and like it really hit me, because it's like, so Yah preps the soil, right? For anybody that has grown anything, you got to get your weeds out. You got to get the like she said, the right nutrients in there. It stinks putting the manure in there, but guess what? Those are the nutrients you need, because you have these saplings that you're about to put out into the wild, and you want to give them the best opportunity and the best start possible. And that's why I was telling Shay on the way here, I said, for us that's been in this, a few years, and then we got people coming in new, like it's our position to help prep the soil to ensure that we give them the best start possible.
All right, stop.
Hammer time.
Stop. I got you. As a teacher, and Brother Jennings and my daddy can tell you this, as a teacher, you can't teach on the level of the smartest student
Yes,
in the room.
that's right.
And so, as pastors and mores, we get accused of teaching the same thing over and over again. But faith comes by hearing and not having heard over and over again. Because you don't know who you got in that room.
That's right.
And so if I'm more learned than that, say Jacob fresh at it, and Duran has been at it for a while, Duran may know what I'm teaching.
Right.
But he is sensitive enough to the Ruach to know that there's somebody else in need and ain't got it.
That's right.
So what Duran would do is cheer the teacher on.
Yeah.
And make sure he's there to answer questions to that new person that like walk up to Jacob at the end. Did you get that? Yeah, but so and so. What did that mean? This is what he was saying. This is what the word said. Guess what? They're being thick joined together.
Yeah.
He's pulling from his sap. But we as Christians get the big head, and you can't teach me nothing else. I don't know, I'm gone. let me tell you something. I was one of them coming up in Christianity that wanted to learn everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sit in places where I would know more than what the pastor said, but it wasn't about what I knew. It was about being in there together,
Right.
celebrating together, the whole walk, not my walk,
That's right.
the whole walk. So when we teach it, Brett said it last week. Brett, he go out there, by his words. He said it last week. He said, I teach as if I'm teaching to the one that don't know nothing. And I said, oh. So as a teacher, you can't take for granted that everybody in that guy.
That's right.
And when you see the fruit manifest in their lives, then you say, Trisha, I'm going to use her again as an example. Trisha admitted that she learned how to read using the Bible. That's how. And then we were trying to get this thing about us being Israelites, and then how come he ain't choose nobody else in the world? And she said, it just ain't right. Whosoever will, let them come, but they chose a people. Then I'm up here one day teaching, and I know she's standing up there, tears just right down her eye. I said, I got it. I got it. Do you know what they did to me as a teacher?
Yeah.
She got it. Now, let's say somebody else get it. So one by one, as they get it, guess what? We can begin moving on. Mm-hmm. Or someone stands up and says, do you need any help on these fresh new babies coming in? Mm-hmm. And I'll say, yeah. Marsha, Marsha, Jennings, Marsha, BJ, Jennings, laugh.
Hey, there's an order to everything. God set it up this way, even from the beginning. And when we take that over and we put it into how we study and serve God, it is so beautiful because as we learn how to worship, and it pulls us closer in to Him, and we know how to bow down, then we learn how to enter in.
Right.
Yeah. Because until you learn how to bow, until you learn how to humble yourself, you can't enter in. Because you haven't got yourself
still stiff, yeah, ain't bow.
You still got all this stuff that got to be unscrewed and loosened up. But for the most part, what we do is we try to come in and do it. Oh, I felt it. What you feel?
Right. What did you feel?
What did you feel? You know.
If you still looking for a feeling, we got some problems.
Right. I have felt more when I studied the Word and began to understand Him than I ever felt from jumping up and down on the song.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I ever felt from speaking in tongues.
That's right.
Yeah.
You see, so Yah has an order, whether you learn it at 12 or you learn it at 112. If you want to learn Him, you got to do it in order.
See, the song got to end, don't it?
It got to end.
And then when the song ends, you ain't got the feeling no more.
That is for real.
Then you gonna try to work with it, but it ain't gonna be that same thing. But His word is eternal.
Yeah.
When that word is in you,
Yeah.
you can bring that word up, and all of a sudden, there you go again, feeling that way. But BJ, and then Brother Jenny, and then Larry, and then Sonny. So you had it a while ago, but you left it up. Right there.
Oh, okay. So, like, the Bible is kind of like our study guide.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay. So, prior to, like, since we are His chosen people, and the Bible is meant for us, like, prior to Israel giving us the 12 tribes and all, what was the Bible meant for?
Wait a minute, you got me twisted.
Like,
Say that again now.
like since the Bible is meant for like the 12 tribes.
The Bible is meant for Yah's people.
Yeah. So like who is Yah's?
Whosoever will let him come. All right, let
But it was, but I understand what he's saying.
I know
But
there were 70 nations, Nate.
But no, what he's saying, I understand. If I think I understand what you're saying, but the word was written, right? Y'all's people, there's people already following y'all when the word was written, right? Because the Pharisees, not the Pharisees, in the synagogue, they taught from the first five, right? Well, there was already people of Yah when they had the Dead Sea Scrolls or whatever you want to call it. So is that what you're talking about?
No, he want to know who was God's chosen people before Israel.
Okay.
That's what he asked.
All right, y'all had creation, Adam and Eve. All right, they were supposed to bring forth a nation, but what did they do? They sinned. They brought sin into the earth instead. All right, so then y'all still looks for a righteous person, right?
That's right.
And therefore, who came up next? Noah. Noah came up next, right?
Yeah.
All right, was it? Yeah, Noah. Noah came up next, and Noah and his children, and he used them to repopulate the earth.
Yeah.
Okay. All he wanted was a kingdom and nation of priests unto him. Now, and the tradition says that there were 70 nations and 70 languages. And out of the 70 nations, only Israel obeyed or wanted to follow after him. So therefore, now I have a generation, a nation of priests. These are they're special to me. I chose them out of all the nations on the earth. I chose them.
Okay, all right, I get
Okay.
And Jenny, and then Larry.
Virginia.
We said we
The thing on the garden actually till the earth. And I'm plant all my seeds in one go. You won't go over for the lawnmower to cut the grass. Do another row. Plant all my seeds. So everybody laughed and said, I was just telling them. They say, you're not supposed to have all that together. I said, look at the land. The oak, the poplar, the cherry, all those trees and pine grow together. Don't they go together? I mean, they're slow.
Sure.
They go together, so if they go together naturally, why can't I let them naturally? All together. And
Well, I'm gonna leave that one alone. That's a whole nother teaching. Yeah, that's a whole nother teaching.
That's a master garden.
Yeah, and then most gardens that are like that, as we see it growing up, Yah has separated them some kind of way. Oh, Brother.
Going back to what you were saying about the teaching, teach down to that level, and if the ones that already know it would accept it, it would reinforce.
Yes, yes.
If they would accept it.
That's it.
Big heads, is why they're doing this.
Right.
That's right. They get the big head and they do that. See, if here's the deal. If I heard it, I would say, Father, what else can I get out of this? Because y'all know the Torah is a never-ending well of revelation.
Yes.
And when you thought you done got it all, guess what?
Yeah. Yeah, just like we said, if you can read the same scripture 100 times, and each time it'll speak something different to you.
BJ, before you go out the door, I want you to get your Bible. Oh, was it you or was it Jay? You. 2 Timothy 3:16. I want you to turn there. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16. And you can read this out the King James. You can read it out the scriptures. You can read this. It's going to tell basically the same thing out of all of them. Let me say this to y'all. The king ain't necessarily all right, and the king ain't necessarily all wrong. So don't preach against the king. Just study to show yourself approved. Because I got the king, and I'll look at it just to hear. I'll read like this verse you're getting ready to read. What do the preachers say it is? All right, what is it really saying? So that way I can, because if I just say what it's really saying and don't know what the preacher's been saying or what they've been saying, I can't compare it. So when they say what they say, and I've already gone there and looked at it and seen what it means by breaking the words down mechanically, guess what? I can minister to them now. Go ahead and read that, brother. 2 Timothy 3, chapter 3, verse 16.
All scripture.
How much scripture?
All of it.
Is Yah and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness.
Doing what in righteousness?
Training.
So this book is to train you in what?
Righteousness.
Now in the scriptures it said all scriptures breathed out by Elohim, and profitable. What is profitable? It adds to your life. It adds in the teaching, reproof. It corrects you, sets you straight when you're off course, and instructs you in right living.
Yep.
You don't know how to live right, except through the Torah.
That's what Paul
Well,
said.
it's been proven though. It's been proven that man don't know how to live right. Look at all of it.
It's been proved.
Paul said,
So all
"You would
of
not
it.
have known sin if it wasn't for the Torah."
He done told you. It wasn't Sonya.
And talk about worship when I, as a child, and going to church, growing up in the Baptist faith, and when I came to the true knowledge and understanding of worship, because when I was a kid, I used to get scared when they used to get up preaching and start yelling and screaming. I used to tell y'all, I used to leave church and go hide outside somewhere, but I could never take the screaming and yelling. But when I came into the true knowledge and understanding of what worship was all about, and about reading the word and reading the Bible and understanding it, there was a big revelation to me, and I was able to really understand worship and bowing down before him and understanding that's what, once I did it, it wasn't like something awkward for me. It was something that I felt like I should have been doing.
Right.
And it set the precedence for, I don't care where I'm at, I could be in the airport if I feel like I need to, bow my head and sound prayer or whatever and pray. That's what I do. I used to be scared what people gonna think. I don't care what people think now, because they, half of them, you try to explain stuff to them like that, they got this notion of what their notion is about what being a Christian supposed to be, and I just think that it's time out of foolishness.
Well, and to add to that, if we care what somebody else thinks when we want to get into a mode of worship,
Yeah.
then we're not humbling ourselves. Because that means we care what this person thinks more than what the Most High thinks.
Exactly.
And, the last thing I was going to bring up, which you touched on earlier, was, we bring up the action of bowing down, right? To each person, bowing down is different, right? Yes, technically it says to lay prostrate, but I could lay prostrate. It's a little difficult to get back up due to my body. And, we all have different phases, right? But the fact is, I think what it boils down to, like we said, the spirit and the truth part, right? And the letter is, are we humbling ourselves, right? Are we truly, I surrender myself to you in this moment because you are greater than I.
That's right.
So what I'd like to do now is, I just want to play something. If you're feeling led, I'm
Prostrate yourself.
right. So
While he thumping around it. That's all right, man.
is it playing? Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I got a question. How many of y'all felt joy or experienced joy?
Yes. Hallelujah.
In his presence,
Yes.
there is fullness of his joy.
Hallelujah.
When you start looking at words and looking at the energy that's assigned to words, the word and the emotion joy is one of the highest levels of energy.
Yeah.
That's why it said the joy of Yahuah is your strength.
Strength. Yes.
So when you're in his presence, there's fullness of joy.
Yes.
And then when the joy is there, it makes you strong.
That's right.
Strong.
That's right.
And when you're strong, guess what? No weapon formed
Yeah.
against me shall prosper. Hallelujah.
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 All right. Anybody got any comments, questions, observations, things they want to add?
You know, I just want to say this, back in the day, well, first of all, when I first, started going to church, it said it was only the deacons that pray, bow down,
Yeah.
pray.
Yeah.
And then when I went into the Holiness Church, it was where everybody
Yeah.
came and kneeled down.
At the altar,
At the altar, just they just, it was on the hand.
Yeah.
And even when I first came to Kingdom Life,
Yeah.
when we first walked in the door, we would go up to the
altar.
front.
That's right.
And bow down. And then, you stay as long as you want to stay, but you bow down and then you get up and go to your seat. So, it's not that it's, something we never experienced, well, not for me. It's not something I've never experienced.
Yeah.
But it's just something that, you just didn't hold on to.
Yeah.
You just didn't keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
So, and then people come in what they call dressed up.
Yeah.
They didn't want to get on the floor.
Right.
How did they do? That
I can't mess up my Sunday outfit.
I think my Havery brothers thought I was crazy. That we were coming here, and I told them I got to, and during the Havery, everybody would have different things at their churches, right? And I told them one day, I said, I ain't putting no more suits. I said, because ain't no telling when I'm gonna be on the floor.
That's right.
And not that I will wear one, I'm just saying. But I would let them know at that place where we were at, we were learning Torah. And we would just, man, look, we be in Hattering, and a revelation comes, we all just start crying. Because, and so I said, y'all, I got to get ready to get down on the floor, and I don't want my flesh to say, you got on a new suit today, don't get down here. Yes, sir.
I want to say, it's weird that you started talking about worship, because on the way here, and my mom was talking, and I was telling her that, you know, some people who come in the walk, they start to like point the finger at people that like to, you know, give praise to
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
You know, and whether they call him God or not, you know, everybody's
Yeah.
journey like you
That's
said.
right.
Yeah.
You know, so I was thinking about in the scripture when David was dancing out his clothes, and one, I think it was one of his wives or something.
Michael?
She came
Yeah.
Aaron because she made fun of him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have to be careful, like, in this walk too. I mean, you know, I know people, you know, in the Christian world, you know, we want us in the Christian world
That's
too,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
Everybody's learning, so.
That's right.
But,
Since I want to add to what you said, too much is given, much is required.
yeah.
And so the more we come into Torah, we can't fudge a little bit.
That's right.
We can't, we got to, that's why he said be diligent, be vigilant, and watchful, but your enemy, your adversary, the devil comes as a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. And so I've seen things since we've been in this walk where people get into, they think they're right in what they're doing, and then you watch the judgment fall on them because they didn't think they moved on their own righteousness. Yeah. Virginia?
Yeah, well, I didn't go to church because you had to be dressed up. And I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters. And the church was Mount Canaan, right across the street, you know, but you could go. And you still have that same idea in your big hat churches, what I call that.
Yeah.
The Creflos and the TD Jakes and the others too, they're dressed up. And so that makes people come as you are, it makes that null and void.
Yeah, I never understood that because, you know, you got, like you said, the big hats, you know, and you got the big hats, but then they're talking about come as you are, but they
Hypocrisy of America.
Right.
Hypocrisy.
They want your check account.
Marcia.
You know, and on what, Sister Alicia said, you have to be careful saying things about people.
Yeah.
Because where you are and where Yah has them, you'll never know.
That's right.
You could be sitting right next to I have known to be in places where they were doing one thing, but I was so caught up in him until it didn't bother me. It's like you be in your box
Yeah.
with him. And it don't matter with nobody around. You better
They're supposed to.
because he got you, you got him.
Yes.
And he holding on to you.
Yes.
Because you are worshiping him.
That's right.
That's why the Catholic churches have those confession lines.
There's we saw a movie last night where the priest got mad at the person and told him, say, just go do 20 Hail Marys and 10 Holy Fathers and you'll be all right.
But see, that's why the word says that God's not a respecter of persons. He sees here. He knows you by by your works and what you do. Not by what you got on, not by, you know, how much you put in, you know, donations at the Goodwill, but more importantly, what you're doing and how you're walking to abide by him.
well, praise y'all, praise y'all. Anybody have any prayer requests we need to lift up?
Alicia?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, we just lift up Alicia right now during her pregnancy.
yes.
And thank you for strengthening her and giving her comfort during this time. And also, Father, even tendering her family as they go through this with her to understand what she's going through. And we thank you for understanding and peace and shalom and comfort to come to the house. And total restoration.
Hallelujah.
In Yahushua's name. Hallelujah.
Sister
Date on
Phyllis.
Joanne.
Oh, yeah. Sister Phyllis.
We lift up Sister Phyllis right now.
Yes.
And we speak healing and health and wholeness to her body. We come against every virus, everything. We deny the right to operate in her body.
Yes.
In the name of your son, Yahuah.
Hallelujah.
Sister Joanne.
Sister Joanne, we lift up Sister Joanne. Continue healing, continue strength.
Thank you, Father.
We thank you for what you're doing in her husband, who's being a good husband to her, watching over her. So we thank you for strengthening the family even more, Father.
Yes.
In the name of your son, Yahushua.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I got an announcement about this.
Oh, yeah.
Sister, Corley, she worked with children. I don't know if everybody knows this, but they are collecting non-perishables. Because they're going to do a basket to someone that's less needy.
Okay.
Whether it be in Talladega, wherever, Birmingham, or wherever. So you got canned goods, or some beans or some non-perishable items. We can bring a couple of cans or whatever, so that she can have it to put in their basket.
Can I add to that?
Add to it.
What
Add
she's
to it.
doing is, it's
Part of her lesson.
It's part of the lesson for the children. So they study two words this week. One is Zedekiah, which is righteous giving.
Zedekiah.
And the other one is Kabod, which is,
Respect.
Kabod.
Respect.
Kabod.
Respect. So Zedekiah is the word for this week, righteous giving. And then Kabod, which means respect. So the Kabod, the Zedekiah portion of it, and she's collecting the candy goods to teach the children, righteous giving and stuff like that. Just to let y'all know how she's tying it into the lesson.
To add to her, y'all don't forget about this. Because this goes for the people that are less fortunate too. And I noticed that there is funds in here, but there's still room for more, as I say. Your change, it's a good place to start, but that's part of the word.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Also, the next Shabbat here, we back in rhythm again with the gathering of Israelites in this area. And so we'll be here the first Shabbat. That's 1st of March.
That's the
Second.
I mean, when I say first,
Oh,
first,
okay.
Opho's called first thing. The second or third. Anyway, that'll be the gathering. And so put the word out. The only thing they need to do is just bring some food. Hallelujah.
I have an announcement too. Next Sunday, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, I don't know what time to go for the people that like to work outside. Because we're not going to call it spring cleaning, but it's getting that time of year to do some maintenance outside, trim some trees and get some branches out the way.
Around here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So next Sunday, anybody that likes to hang out outside is more than welcome to come join. Weather permitting, because I ain't doing it in the rain. But I'll probably be down here about 10 o'clock next Sunday. Not this Sunday, next Sunday. So just putting that out there for anybody that likes to hang out outside, BJ.
Also, I just want to add one other thing, y'all. It's just like a little housekeeping thing. Because we do
Food.
refreshments and food and everything on every Shabbat, we are in need of paper goods, paper plates, paper towels, napkins, paper cups, for coffee.
Rat traps?
Mouse